Board going, and all right.
I'll keep an eye on the waiting room.
Sorry. All right. So trying to get my slide deck up here. Sorry. Thought I was ready. Was not. All right. So welcome one and all to our November 20th MVP office hours. It is just awesome to see everyone today. Thanks for joining us. The normal run through here, just a reminder that Dale and Joy and I are all available on Twitter, as well as lots and lots of other awesome MVPs and MVPs waiting to be. And so we'll come back to that in a second, but we're all a community, so work together by posting or chatting or whatever, anywhere you can find, whether it's in the success community or on Twitter or where else you want to go. All the events, as we know, are painfully virtual. Lots of things coming through the works recently, as far as Dreamforce to You and Dreamforce Dream TX. Dream TX? Yes. Lots of stuff happening in December. So make sure you're hitting those sites and registering and getting the updates, because it's going to be as close as we're going to get to a Dreamforce this coming month. Lots of the events are being bumped and pushed for obvious reasons. So keep a focus on the community events calendar for whatever virtual or in public events are available to you. And that's about it there. As far as coming up, we have a scheduled event for the 4th of December coming up. Dale, you have to remind me what do we do in the holiday month normally with the call? I can't remember.
So we will push to January 8th, and then that'll be the 8th, the 22nd, and then that actually, because January is a 5 Friday month, that puts us right back on track in February.
So we'll do the 4th, and then we'll be done until January. Is that what I heard?
Oh, sorry, you meant, okay.
Well, that's okay.
December 4th, December 18th, and then January, we switch to the 8th and 22nd because of New Year's Day. But yeah,
perfect.
We're doing December normal.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. So just keep an eye out on the success community and for updates from us on those dates, but book them accordingly. We, of course, have the partner MVP office hours happening in with Carlos, Portugal, and EMEA. Oh, sorry, I'm seeing chats and it's distracting me. Sorry. So those are available to us as well. Please feel free to join. Carlos does a great job of translating the Portuguese to English and vice versa if you want to share there. I've not attended the EMEA one, but I'm sure it's just as good. And I think that's everything. And then, of course, we've been doing this for, I don't know, 1,000 years now, it feels like, but just remind you that if you're not talking, please stay on mute. Feel free to use your camera, whether you don't have to, but it's great to see your face. And remember that when you do want to ask a question, you can raise your hand in the participant group or post it in chat, and we will get to you as soon as possible. We are recording, so if you don't want to be recorded, unfortunately, we can't do anything about that. So, or I should say, we choose not to. So please keep that in mind. And if you are going to share anything, share a sandbox. Hopefully with obfuscated data for obvious reasons, both for your firm and because we are recording it. We don't want to have anything in that recording that you don't want the whole world to have access to. We can obviously share screens otherwise. And I think that leads us to the 2 main announcements. So first one is I'm going to speak for everyone. We're very proud to have been selected as MVPs by the community. And now is the time for you to reach out to those people that are impacting you outside of this call or even in this call and nominate other MVPs to Salesforce. You can go online and take care of that. It feels difficult, but it's not. They're asking really important questions to help understand why that person is impactful to you in your career and your community. You should definitely go do that right now if you have someone in mind that is a special MVP. And you can even renominate MPs it helps to be supported having been selected one, and it helps to support people that are hoping to be one. So And with that, then I'll also throw out to the crowd, how many other MVPs do we have on the call today? I'll have my normal, we're all MVPs because we're all here helping each other, but there's a couple that are joining us with an actual stamp by their name. There's Jake and his bird, Ringo. Steve, what's his name?
Bongo.
Go.
And I saw
Next
Stu.
guess was Jeff, but okay.
Stu is here and gone. Where'd he go?
Well,
There he is.
unfortunately, I'm breaking protocol already, so sorry.
What?
I'm
You're fine, Stu. You're fine.
All right.
Oh.
So with that, thank you all for joining us, MVPs and everyone else. And let's jump right into that first question. We had a great one come in through Google, through Gmail that we wanted to touch on right away.
So Lisa, if you're unmuted still, you want to talk us through it?
Okay, I'm asking about a couple of aspects of email changes. One is the fact that when you move to Outlook integration from Salesforce to Outlook, which is the old antiquated going out of business one, the only way all the functions work is if you're using enhanced email. And I was reading the considerations for using enhanced email, and I just am afraid of what I don't know that I don't know. Like I'm not sure. I mean, since all emails in Classic are, and yes, we're going to be moving to Lightning, but right now we're in Classic and all our emails are not enhanced email and they're all logged as tasks. And so to say, you know, check all your workflows that may use tasks, what does that mean? Like if I'm using email alerts, are those safe? I'm trying to figure out what problems I might have if I make the switch. And one of the reasons for that is it's hard for me to test it in Sandbox. We have some really elaborate flow functionality using email alerts for our debt functionality, and it's really important to us. And in order to set that up, I need to set up a bunch of test emails and test scenarios, and also import some data from other systems in the Sandbox to get that set up. And it would be a big, kind of a big production. And I've recently been told to put on hold any use of internal staff for extra Salesforce work while we focus on some other projects. So I feel like, you know, my hands are tied in terms of it's just me and it's hard to test and I'm not sure what I'm looking for. I'm not sure what could go wrong, and it's really important functionality. So there's my setup. And then the ref ID, you know, same sort of thing. We're using some ref IDs currently, but what happens when, you know, what would happen if we left them there? What, you know, so I'm just trying to figure out when we make switches like that, that seem to be pretty necessary at this point, what could go wrong and what should I be looking for? Or is there an example you can give me?
And if I could jump in, Brittany did ask if we could just reiterate what enhanced email is before we jump into the sunset of Salesforce or Outlook and enhanced email. So
yeah, so enhanced
Speaking to that.
enhanced email is going to be using the email message object to log emails, which has more functionality. I think it's because you can attach things and it has, you know, more direct mapping of email fields. It's just better functionality with email. Whereas what I'm currently, all our emails are logged as tasks. And so.
and they're logged as tasks because you're using Salesforce or Outlook connector. Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Well, also, I don't know, like, we're using all kinds of email alerts within Salesforce Classic, and I'm just wondering what's the story there? Or am I using email message with those?
Sure.
If it's just the function, you know, the basic email alert functionality, and I don't have enhanced email turned on, am I still using the email message object for that or not? Like, I'm just not sure
Mhm.
what my story is.
I saw Dale brought up the considerations doc. Did you go through that?
I did, but again, it just says, if you're using workflows and tasks, well, all our emails are logged as tasks and all our emails are processed through, well, not all, we do some within, the contact object, for example, but we're all using tons of workflow rules and a really involved flow that sends out many, many emails.
Mhm.
They're all done through email alerts. So I'm just wondering what I need to
Yep.
worry about.
Well, that first statement kind of tells you the answer to that question. So replace all workflows for task-based emails with the email message object. So that tells you right away that anything that's using task-based email will need to be replaced.
So I don't know how to do that since I'm using the email alert. Where in the email alert do I tell it to use
That's, yeah.
something
Yeah.
different? I don't understand what
not
that even
written-
means.
This was
Right.
not written by a business user. This was written by a product
Correct.
developer.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That is
Yep.
not talking about email alerts. Email alerts are simply an email notification that gets sent out when something happens to whatever record spawned the workflow or the flow or the process builder change. So email alerts, just put those on the side. This is now that the activities object, tasks and events can trigger automation.
Mm-hmm.
Anything where something changes to a task to then fire a workflow that is an email. I think that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
Well, because once you go to enhanced email, the email message object becomes something that you can create in the workflow. So that's part of it too.
Right.
Right. So instead of saying, if I'm picturing the flow, but like right now you say send an email,
Mm-hmm.
an activity email versus an email message email. And the third bullet covers some of those other options, right? So if anything uses the task object, you want to use email message object. So it's basically, I shouldn't say basically, because it's way bigger than that. I know that, but you have to evaluate that everything was built around tasks being the email. And when you turn it on, now you've got a totally different object. So you have to transition everything from task to that object. I don't know if it.
So let's say I'm setting up an email alert. They only have so many fields. Like, so how, what am I looking to change in an email alert? Or what am I exactly, like, can you actually walk through, show an example of what you mean by change that?
I think we can do that. I don't know if I've got a box with enhanced email turned on. Does anybody, Joy or Dale, do you?
No, but I'm wondering, are you able to possibly show us your sandbox?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Because you've got enhanced email turned on in your sandbox, Lisa?
I haven't gone through all that yet. No.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm still
we'll-
trying to map my plan and not waste time, so.
No, you're good. But I think if you're able to show us, if you can show us what you're talking about on your email alerts and your current workflows, that might help us round out what they're saying here in this recommendations doc.
Okay. Well, it's, all right, I can. Showing you the flow is going to be the same in the sandbox or not, so let me just show you the flow that I'm talking about. This is the one I'm the most worried about. One moment.
Taco.
Sorry, talk amongst yourselves.
No, well, Taco's talking.
That's what I heard.
It's not my stomach. I swear I ate lunch. I, I wish my camera was more mobile because he's laying on the ground with his face like up against my chair and like these teeth are like raw, but he's just stretching and saying hello. And you'd think we never fed him.
I think for this recording, the episode would be called "That Time Taco Contributed to Office Hours."
He did make a little screen appearance. Did everyone see that?
All right, I'm
Wow.
going to share my screen here.
All right.
So here's a flow, and this is all our debt handling. And every one of these blue boxes is an email alert.
It's
At
not
the
showing.
end.
Yeah, I'm
here.
not sharing your screen yet. Make sure you say okay
Oh.
to share.
Sorry,
That's all right.
I thought it was done. Okay,
There we go.
so, looking at this, I've got this flow
Mhm.
and the end result of all these branches, if I can move it,
So
is email alerts.
right. Okay. So these email alerts would not be impacted by what they're talking about here.
That's what I was trying to figure out. And I was hoping that was right, but
Right.
since
The-
they all end up as tasks, I'm like, what's going to happen with all these?
Right. No. So when a workflow or a flow sends a workflow email alert, which is what you have here across the bottom of your screen, it does not log a record anywhere in Salesforce. It doesn't create a task. It doesn't create an email message record. It doesn't create any historical blip anywhere that said this email alert was sent because of this workflow, blah, blah, blah. It is simply a notification that goes out to whoever the email alert says it's supposed to go to with whatever text you put in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that all of those are completely separate from what's in this before using enhanced email recommendation. What the context of that document is, if you have workflows for task-based emails with workflows based on the email message object. That is saying,
Can you actually show me an example? Somebody show me an example of what that means. I don't think I know what that means.
well, so can you click out to your setup and search for email alerts? Okay, so click into there and just pull one of them up. Perfect. All of these are coming off of the contact object, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What this is saying is if something changes on the email message object, like you're sending an email from email message, whatever, then that's what's impacted. What all of your email alerts here are based off of a change to the contact object.
Okay. So any workflow that's, like you said, that's actually based on, all right, let me look at my emails too, or my workflows. 'Cause we have a lot of, trying to see if there's any. There's one based on task populate notes. So I can look at that. But I think I see what you're getting at, where it's actually, I see what you're saying. If it's, doing something based on task and then it involves email. All right. Okay, that clarifies it. I think that's, I just knew that we sent, we're sending so many emails out based on different workflows, and it
Right.
just made me so nervous because I didn't know what I was looking for exactly.
Right. And that's, I mean, you're in the same boat as many people given any enhancement Salesforce puts out there, because Salesforce has been around for so long and people have gotten into the groove of how to do it. And then this whole new thing over here comes up. I'm like, okay, Salesforce just says you should start doing this. Yeah, you're completely disregarding the history of how everybody got to where they are today. That's great. You've given a great new way to do it, but you can't just flip a switch. Like, it's going to
Oh.
take work to do it.
Yeah, I actually think it's a great change. I think the email message usage is a way better functionality. I mean, there's so many changes. Like, I totally want to rewrite my org now that we're focusing more on permission sets and permission set groups for that whole functionality versus, profiles. And there's so much of my org now that there's a better way to look at it, that I kind of want to rewrite everything since I got here, but that's another story. Then my other question is about, and thank you for that, by the way, for just, I feel like I was hoping it was that rudimentary, but I was really afraid if I didn't totally understand what I was doing, I was going to screw something up. So I appreciate it. So the other one is about the ref ID versus headers in emails, that change. If we currently, we're not using email to case coming in to the org, but we are using ref ID for some return emails. So I'm just wondering, once that change is made, is the fact that the ref ID is there, if I missed one, would it hurt something? Would it screw something up? Is the header just going to track things automatically? What do I need to do about that?
Lisa, if you want to stop sharing, I know that there's a link in the chat that goes to that ref ID knowledge article.
Mhm.
Familiar with what you're talking about?
That's the one that I was showing a few minutes ago. I was popping it back in case anyone else wanted to see what we were talking about.
Yeah. I received a notification on that. Excuse me, getting hoarse. I don't talk to people enough. So, as I said, we do have some emails that are sent out by the system when our own system creates a case and sends out an email, and this is all written before my time, so some of it I'm not as familiar as I wish I was, but it does include ref IDs in the body and in the subject. And when the switch is made to use new threading behavior using the header, I'm just wondering.
So the good news is it looks like it's not going to force you until winter 22. And the other good news is that you can turn that new behavior on or off with a release update to, to test that out until then.
Yeah, that one actually will be easier to test, so I'm not quite as worried about it.
And so at the bottom half of the screen, it says, when existing orgs are enabling the new threading behavior via the update, remember the following considerations and limitations. I think it's got 8 or 10 little bullet points there. And so going through each of those and see and understanding like how the ref ID and the email threading is going to be changed.
There's a piece of me that when I read this, are you doing any of this through Apex, through programmatic, or is this all in the setup with point and click declarative stuff?
All the workflows and flows and process builder and everything is what's being used. There is a little bit of Apex in our org, but
Okay.
I've already gone into Lightning. I'm creating a new version of that in Lightning with a screen flow. So I don't really need to worry about that.
Because I kind of wonder if this is, so the beautiful part of using core functionality within Salesforce is that whenever anything changes with it, whether it's enhanced or sunsetted or whatever, because you're using native supported functionality, not
Mhm.
hacks, not overabundance of code, anything like that, you may not have anything that you really have to do. They're calling out in Apex the method get case ID from email thread ID
Mhm.
is deprecated, replaced with get case ID from email headers, whatever. That's in custom land. But reading through this, I think this is mostly telling you what's going to happen on the back end, and you may not have anything that you have to actually worry about.
That's what I'm hoping. I just kind of wanted to run it by people and
Yeah, I think, I mean, anybody step in and tell me if I'm missing a configuration change in here, but I think this is mostly, we're changing the sausage recipe.
There is, go ahead.
what I'm seeing, I'm seeing a line here that's going to affect a couple customers that I've had and me. Incoming responses to emails that were sent before summer 20 will not match correctly. I'm the kind of guy that likes to keep emails forever, and so I've got some hostile emails in certain folders from 5 years ago that I may want to reply back to. That is not going to match correctly if they're using email to case. And I've got clients that are in the nonprofit sector that use email to case, that their customers are just like that they'll have some specific password file or member file, and they're like, oh, but I remember that from 2010. Let me go grab that email and respond to that.
Right. So I think that's actually the same thing I was looking at. The good news is I'm hoping that would generate a new case, and that, you're going to see that it's a reply to another email. And so there, at least the thread would be there, like maybe in the reply. But I think the best practice might be to make sure that, like, responses received, 14 days after the case has been closed creates a new case, so that you're not continually just bouncing off like the original case.
Yeah.
And put some guardrails up before summer 20. And then I didn't get past that because there's a couple more, but I can't see all of them.
So Stu, first, if anybody has sent you hostile emails, I want their names and I will take care of it for you. But,
We'll feed them to Taco.
yeah, I guess, right. Now I want tacos. I guess I would also question what's the frequency of needing, or I get the use case. I get the I get the case there, but what is the probability that of needing to go all the way back to that? Is it potentially an indicator or a validation rule or something that just says, hey, if the created date or whatever date on these emails is before summer 20, so let's say, I don't know, March or May or April, I know what order months go.
Yeah. The risk
if
versus
the email is
reward.
before like May 20, then nope, don't do it or whatever. I mean, I don't know if it's something soft or passive like that, but.
And reading between the lines of this knowledge article, it appears to me that the way that they're doing the threading right now via that ref ID that could be in the subject header or a body, that could be a spoofing mechanism for people to use to get stuff into cases that shouldn't actually be there.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing this in a different way and having a unique ref ID, that's a good way to do it. That's a more secure way to do it. They're not stating that exactly, but I'm putting my own words into this knowledge article.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to they're more just telling you they're changing the recipe, but don't worry, you're still going to get an edible dish.
Yeah.
From a configuration standpoint, I don't think you have anything you have to worry about.
Sorry.
So the big flow that sends out, the only place I've seen this is the big flow that sends out all the email alerts. Those all have ref IDs in the subject and in the body. And when they get sent out, when this change is made, I'm assuming the first time they're sent out, it just ignore the ref ID and it'll start its own.
So I guess I'm surprised that ref ID is even a possibility in email alerts, because again, email alerts are simply something transactional happened to a record and we're sending a notification to a user or a group of people to indicate whatever in a body of text. There's no fingerprint put back in Salesforce. Email to case, they put, the ref ID so that as emails are going in and out of Salesforce and the case and everything, there's something to hook onto. An email alert is just a one-way out to say XYZ.
Yeah, so it's attaching it to the case somehow. I wonder if it's emailing it back and creating the, to itself and making to our own Salesforce and creating the case that way. I
Right.
guess I have to look more closely at that.
I think this benefits, it sounds like a lot of us have just enough information to be dangerous. Maybe we table this and bring it up in the next meeting with some more research from all of us.
Well, and
That'd
I
be
can post it
wonderful.
out in the group as well so that we can all collab on that.
And I could do a little more research on exactly how the logic is attaching those. And like I said, this was a functionality that was written before my time. So I'll have to do a
Oh,
little
yeah.
more research and get back to you guys.
No worries. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dale.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we're in the middle of going through an evaluation of email integration end to end, and the success group for email integration is real good. They might be able to speak to this too.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Okay. Next up, we have Brittany.
So my question is very visual. Would it be okay if I shared my screen?
It sure would. Go for it.
Thank you, thank you. So my sales managers have asked me to create a button that links us from a contact page to a Pardot prospect page. And the button works fine. Just click the button, it goes to the prospect page. The issue is that they don't like where the button is. They would prefer that, right? So
They never do. They never do.
Yeah, so we have this tab for engagement history that loads for the prospect, and they want the button here. And I don't know how to put it here. The fields that drive this button are the Pardot ID, and there's a second field that we could utilize, which is the Pardot URL. So I asked Pardot office hours how they would approach this. Before we talked about button placement, they said, oh, just expose the Pardot URL. So, okay, that's one way to do it. So how could I satisfy my managers to get them to Pardot from here?
What can you show us the button?
Yeah, am I sharing my screen open?
You are, but like how you configured the button?
Oh, certainly. And this might be sloppy, but okay. So I have the button or link URL here, and then it's a merge tag on a formula to get the Pardot ID off the Pardot URL because Pardot doesn't actually pass the ID to you, it just gives you the URL.
So, the reason I'm asking is because, and I can't remember off the top of my head, so that's what I'm gonna throw out there, but can you work your way up with a relationship map from the related list to its parent and in theory pull that ID down to the related list button? I'm kind of asking this in the world, right?
It's
So
not
like when you create,
actually,
because when you create that button, you can decide where you want it, whether it's, you know, in related list or in your header bar or what have you. And so if you have your ID equal to, like, you know, what does it be like? It'd be Pardot ID or whatever that relationship object is, dot Pardot ID or whatever to work your way through it. I don't know if you can pass a parameter that way from the related list.
okay, so here's the tricky bit, is that engagement history, I don't think, it's not a related list.
Yeah, can you actually go back to that lightning page layout?
It's a component on the page layout, isn't it?
Exactly,
Can you actually edit this page? I just want to see if we can add additional components.
of course.
'Cause you might be able to work your way around in there and have two different separate components in that one tab.
Yes, I think we're getting warmer with this.
Is it an option to say no, you have to use from the top of the page and move on to something more important?
I can push back, but I told them that I would ask.
I guess coming back to your original statement of they don't like where it is. This is where you know your stuff. You know how the system operates efficiently versus once you start getting more customized, that creates a maintenance headache and upkeep and. Put an ROI on it to just say, look, really, you want to move this button? Okay, in the long run, it's going to cost X amount of time, whatever. Like, you have the tools and resources to push back and say, no.
Right?
And here's why. Like, if you can put a quantitative thing to it, like, is it really costing you that much time for the button to be here versus here? Or like, I'm also feeling feisty on a Friday afternoon, but don't be afraid to challenge. If you know it's going to cost a ton of time and energy in the future to keep maintaining that because somebody needed a button somewhere else, that's absolutely worth charging back on.
Mm.
If there's no reason other than I don't like it there, you have every reason to push back on that.
Right?
That's a really good idea. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Me?
Sarah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. There's a couple different ways you could do it. I totally agree with what Dale is saying, though, that you don't want to necessarily get into a situation where you've built something very particular and now you have to maintain that separately from all your other actions. However, if you really want to go down that route, there's a couple options. There's some, you could build a very small screen flow that had a button on it that took them to that place, stick that flow right above that engagement history component. There's, I think, probably some custom components in the App Exchange that are buttons. I think there's one, custom lightning navigation button. Let's see if I can find the link.
There's also Stu's article from Jeremiah Doan about the quick actions everywhere.
Yeah. So I think there are options. It's not going to look the same. It'll be like a little colored button above that engagement history, but it would probably have the same functionality. So it's definitely doable. But again, I would echo what Dale was saying of like question whether just because you can, should you?
Got it. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Just because you can, should be like the battle cry of every admin.
Yeah.
Yep.
That should
Just
be the
because
next round
there's
of Salesforce swag. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
just
Hashtag
because
off
there's a
net.
box of chocolates in front of you doesn't mean you should have all of them.
What do you got against chocolate? Yes. You
I have
absolutely
nothing
do.
against chocolate. I don't have any
Why do you do this to
self-control.
us, Joy? First it's tacos, now it's chocolates.
Right. Yeah. Seriously.
Seriously.
Meddling now.
And I'm just going to throw it out there. Chocolate tacos.
Choco Taco is an awesome
Choco
ice cream treat.
Taco.
Don't
It's
you
the
know?
best.
I know.
It's the best poolside like treat ever. And so, you know, you guys know how I feel.
Well, thank you.
I
Thank you
have
very
said my
much,
piece.
Sarah. This is helpful. Outside of these options, like, should I consider visual form pages? No. Okay.
Why? No. Why? What? No. Why?
No.
We're gonna
Okay.
pretend you didn't ask.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's like
Bring
the
in-
time I had developers trying to create a dashboard with Visual Force.
Okay.
I told them to go eat lunch and I had it done in 10 minutes.
But I mean, seriously, Brittany, you bring up a very real world Salesforce problem that I would love to talk to PMs and marketing about is give cost ROI based materials to the admins to justify why standard. You are in a prime position right now to need that collateral to push back to your users to say, look, Salesforce built its framework this way for these reasons so that it would save X% of time, X number of dollars, blah, 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 blah. We're lacking in this space, but that's exactly what you need right now to be able to push back and say, look, no, you're having me think about custom putting buttons over here. You had me ask the question about Visual Force pages, which in the former world would have unfortunately been the answer. But this is the kind of materials that we all need to be more armed with to be able to push back and say, look, no, Salesforce came out of the box with these functionalities because we're going to keep it this way. You can't afford the maintenance. You can't afford the sustainability that it will kill.
I'd like to add on to that, Dale, with one thing is, you're protecting yourself too, because you're going to have to relearn what you did to fix it or change it in the future. And if you're not the one handling things in the future, someone's going to throw you under the bus and be like, I can't believe she did it this way.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I try to, like all the clients I speak with and in past organizations I've worked with, I've always said, you know what, if I'm not here to fix this, who's going to know?
Mhm.
And, documenting all that stuff out to make sure it's like clear enough that someone can figure it out or fix it is really complex. So out of the box as much as you can. And if you're going to do something a little bit wacky, make sure it's highly documented.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not fair to you to have to relearn it a year and a half, 2 years from now and be like, now what did I do?
Well, and I'm just going to throw out one more example, and then I think we can move on. Is way back in Classic when we were allowed to have URL hacks into flows, and then as soon as Lightning came on, them's was broken deliberately. Salesforce deliberately broke them, which I totally understand why. But we became so dependent on this workaround, which you might be looking at, that Salesforce can pull the plug on that at any time because it's a hack. So that's part of the risk of why not to do things like that.
Yeah, I'll jump one more comment in there too also, Dale. As consultants and former consultants, a lot of times you don't want to ever say, no, you can't do that. At least I'm too prideful to say that. But a lot of times I would say to the client, we probably can do that, but the cost to do that, we might sink 10, 12 hours now, and then we've got some technical debt built in that, the technical debt could represent hundreds of hours over the next 5 years. And so a lot of times, most business people, they'll go, oh yeah, you're right, it's fine up there. But once in a while, you'll get somebody that says, no, I really want it there. And then you kind of document it that, so-and-so really wanted it there. And
I really wanted it there for $10,000.
And usually the person who asked for it, when they're in the meeting, they're texting, they're doing whatever, and wearing the really nice sport coat that looks like the couch just got shot, i.e. sales. Well, I'm feisty today. I'm
Oh
freaking
my.
feisty.
Brittany, you
Thank
got
you.
enough to work with?
Yes, thank you all for the Feisty Friday. I did have a quick second question. If everyone or whomever knows can put in the chat like their favorite deduping app, paid or free, I'd gladly take suggestions. Thank you.
All right, let's get those in the chat. Where
Yep,
are we?
and we'll put it in the group too. Let those who
Yeah.
can join throw that in too.
All right. Well, who's next, Dale?
We had Brittany, and then we had
Marty.
Marty.
Hello, this is Marty.
Hello.
So does anybody have experience with activity metrics fields, in particular, next activity date? I'm asking because I'm also a consultant, and a client got a hold of that field name. We put it in the report and it just looks weird. And then I did a joined report where I compare it with open tasks. And then I found this lovely sentence that says, the next activity date for activity matrix shows the date of the future task only if the task's due date was this is funny if it wasn't funny, only if the task's due date was within 30 days from the date it was required. Because I have many opportunities with tasks that are due, but they do not fit that criteria. So that seems to be true, which seems to be not the most useful. Any
Right, because
comments?
they're not going to go out like 60 days if you've got nothing.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm going to make a wild assumption and go back to Brittany's question of, I'm going to guess a Salesforce sales rep came to a product manager and said, hey, I need to know my next activities in the next 30 days. Great. Build for that.
Yeah, exactly. And my statement as a consultant sometimes is, don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
I'm telling you what Salesforce does, like we said, if you want to make additional changes, fine. So the quote I'm using was in an idea. So keep going down here, you'll see next activity date, which pretty much this document pretty much tells you nothing.
Gotcha.
So if no one has any experience,
I think nobody has any experience because unfortunately we've all had to do that Google search to find out it's
exactly. All right. Very good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. And then we had Stu, I think, right? Stu?
We do. Mine
Or
is
not.
Mine is just hard.
Well, you have 10 minutes. Go.
Well, maybe you want to skip me.
Well, so Stu, I will say, without naming names, there's someone that you're going to be co-presenting at a user group here with in a couple of weeks that I'm actually working with one-on-one with the exact same question you have. So maybe we chat offline. I might be able to.
Yeah.
Are you using the core action, Stu?
Do what?
Are you using that core action? Or put those things to Chatter and Flow?
Yeah, I think they're trying to put it in Chatter.
Yeah, but are you using the core action to post it to Chatter? Flow?
That I don't know. What I think I'm going to have to do is refer to it through a different record. So instead of user ID, try and figure out the owner ID, user ID through the owner ID of an object. Maybe that's a better way to do it.
I think it's, well, yeah, but it's more, sorry, are you using a Flow or your process builder to make the chatter post happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's just flat out a wonky limitation that Salesforce put in for whatever reason that makes dynamically tagging users and posts difficult. If that makes sense. Is it on a group? So is it into a group? Is it into a detail record? Like, where are you trying to post this?
Yeah, well, skip me because this is going to be a longer conversation than we have time for. And I'd rather get to somebody else's question.
Fair enough. Jeff, you are up next.
Just some general discussion. Has anybody done much with the new maps? We're working on it in our sandbox and got some map layers created. And I haven't done enough on Trailhead to be really dangerous yet. So, you know, if anybody can say, hey, I can talk a little bit about it or not.
This is the Salesforce maps like you're implementing?
The old map anything, right?
Yeah, the old map anything. Specifically, we're going to want to create territories from map layers.
Yeah, you're going to dedicate someone to that job and to get it set up, and then they're going to be your SME, and they're going to be loved by everyone, and they're going to be overwhelmed until it's set up. then they're going to want you to not touch it.
So let's talk about reorgs.
And Daniel.
Ooh.
Daniel?
That was a loaded answer, huh?
What?
Sorry, Jeff.
And Daniel's the guy that's done that, right?
I've worked with, I've instructed someone how to do it and then had to let go of it.
I consoled the person that had to do it.
Okay, well, I'll spend a little bit more research time this week and over the next couple of weeks and see if I can pick it up. I've got someone on my team that's installed it, done a little bit, and now we're digging into, there's map layers out there, but they're not quite sure how to assign territories from those map layers. So
Encourage the learning.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Why I'm here on maps. So I'm in the trailhead maps, but I can't figure out how to get maps installed on my trailhead org. Has anybody done? Daniel, you've done that. You got 300.
No, I learned it from Map Anything and they were very helpful.
Okay.
Salesforce Maps, not so much.
Are you you're within the trailhead badge?
Well, yeah. The very first,
Okay. So in the badge, go to the feedback and pose that question. How,
Okay.
how do I get this in my playground? And you should get a response back pretty quickly.
And Dale, we see in your screen.
Yep.
Show me where that feedback is.
Yeah, it should be the bottom right hand corner underneath the challenge. Just give feedback, right?
Yep.
While you bring that up, Dale, I hate to sound like a broken record, but the MAPS success group is good too here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is one of those ones that because it's a paid add-on, you can't automatically get it. Some of the tools you just can't plug in. You have to read it and not play with it, but I'm not sure about this one.
Right.
All right, I'm clicking all over the place here.
So go into the badge.
Yeah, go into the Discover Salesforce Maps. I think that's well, actually it was a 200-300.1, but that's all right.
Well, whichever it is.
That's
So if you go into one of the modules, there's
Like get to know Salesforce Maps. Yep.
and then click on one of these little 10-minute sections, and then there should be like a questions, feedback, or help right there on the bottom. And if you click into that, what it does is it captures like what badge you're on and all that good stuff. And you can be like, hey, how can I get my hands on this in my playground? But it asks you like, share an idea, connect with the community, contact us, share your feedback. The contact us is really the support team. It might be a suggest new features and contact, however you think this kind of fits into the equation. The difference is like, do you need it to do the badge or do you want it to play with? And are you actually looking for like a trial version?
Yeah, I would.
That's
I would probably want to get the badge just so I understand it. And we've already got the product, we paid for it, but I'd want it in my trailhead so I can.
Can you, I guess, if it's just to do the badge, if you need it to complete the badge, then that makes sense to log a case with Trailhead.
Okay.
But if you want access like in your sandbox so that you can play around with it, then that's something that you want to go back to your AE.
We've got that. I got access
Okay.
in my sandbox. I just don't have access in my trailhead.
In the playground, right.
Yeah, in the playground.
And so I don't know if the badge requires that or not, but that's how you would feedback that up to Trailhead. Or you can Twitter shame them. That helps. Sometimes there's fast responses sometimes. So
Okay.
hey, at Trailhead.
Oh, crap.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
There's
So
a map. Hey, Squire, earlier you mentioned there was like an email integration group as well. I just want to capture it for.
Yeah, I'll find it and get in the chat right away here because I'm a member of it. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I really wanted Map Anything when I was at one of my former employers, and because we were using this crazy zip code list. It was insane. And it was crazier than that because it was zip codes and it was a county and the territories were a headache and a half.
Let me tell you about my life in trucking. That was my life. I lived in every single zip code and Canadian forward sortation code.
Yep. Multifamily housing. That's what we were talking about. So I have to sign off, everybody. Squire and Dale, you're welcome to hang out here, but I've got to get going. I've got another set of office hours for a client. they don't have as many interesting questions as you guys do, but I can't wait to see you guys next time. So see you.
See you,
Thanks,
Joy.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
I'm having trouble getting logged in because I'm multitasking. I will post the link to you. I'll add
Thank you.
you, Jeff, in our success to get you over to that group.
All right, yeah, I need to jump as well. We did have a couple more questions come out of the group or in the chat thread. I would say, if you can, please head over to the MVP Office Hours Success Group and post your questions in there, and we'll jump on them. Do apologize that we're at the top of the hour, but always great conversation. Thank you, Squire. I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you, everyone, for setting
Thank
me
you very
straight.
much.
Thanks, everyone. Great session as
Thank
always.
you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone. You
Stay
too.
safe. Wear a
Thank
mask.
you. Stay safe and take care.
Yep.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.